And we are in a series that we've had over the last 3 weeks called How to Have the Worst Christmas Ever. And you might be going, that's the worst title ever. And in one way it is. But what we've had the opportunity to do is this, is the Christmas story. It's every year as a pastor, you're going to tell the same story over and over and over. And this time we've had a chance to look at some characters that we usually don't talk about, which are the villains of the Christmas story. I like Star Wars, and so I like the villains the best in Star Wars, but that's just me. Don't know why. It's weird. Maybe I need some psychiatric help, but that's the way it is. But we went, hey, what could we learn from the villains of the Christmas story? And what I saw was this, is that the villains followed a certain script. And if you want the worst Christmas ever, follow their script. Now, a lot of people say, I don't want the worst Christmas ever. Then don't follow their script. But don't do this. Don't think you can follow the same script that they did and have the best Christmas ever. It just doesn't work. And many of us, we don't mean to, but maybe in a smaller way or in a different way, but we follow the same script, and we're on track for having the worst Christmas ever, not maybe just the worst life ever as well. And so we said, hey, what could we learn? What could we take away so that we do learn some of the lessons from them? So we've covered several things. The first Sunday we talked about King Herod and how that his greed and how a lot of the problems that he had, so self-focused, so about himself, and we covered how to overcome some of those things in his life. And then last Sunday, Perry Harrell came, and he preached a message about the religious rulers and how they miss Christmas because of their pride. And you can go back and listen. newbranch.net's our website, so check those messages out. But today, we're going to talk about probably one of the biggest ways that you could miss, but it's so subtle that a lot of us don't even realize that this could happen to us. So how many people feel stressed right now? Or how many people go, hey, Christmas, it starts off fun, but then it gets a little bit stressful. And so what I like to do is because I know how much, it's like buying things and doing things and obstacles that come. We just want you to take a big breath this morning. So what I did was I went out and got a yoga instructor, and they're helping me. And so I brought them, I got a video of my yoga instructor.
And release
you just breathe with them this morning.
all of those sounds that are trapped in your mind.
Anybody feel like that?
Are you okay?
I'm a little messed up.
Yeah. So some of us feel that way, right? I mean, what makes Christmas horrible, I can tell you, what can make it a horrible season for us sometimes is too much, right? It's not that it's not fun, it's just too much, right? Too busy, too stressed, too much money. Anybody? It's like money has to go, and it's like, man, I would like some of this on a smaller scale, but I can't just sit back and relax and enjoy it because there's this, and then there's that party, and then there's family coming, and then there's family, and that's a big piece of the stress and the busyness. Okay, and so you get the picture, or I got this program to go to, and that program to go to, and this kid's doing that, and I got to make sure they all have the perfect gift. And after a while, it's to be so much, right? Or maybe there's obstacles that come. There's a loss of a loved one. There's a loss in your life. There's things you can't talk about. Or, all of a sudden you had a big financial crisis right in the middle of what's supposed to be fun. And it's not fun now. Now it's kind of like, oh, man, this is not cool. Or a relationship ends or whatever else. And so we want to talk a little bit about, hey, what do you do? How do you overcome that in your life? And so what we want to do today is we want to talk about, hey, how do you overcome the busyness and the stress of Christmas? And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the first Christmas story, or the first Christmas, and we're going to learn some lessons about how to overcome some of those things, and kind of a warning, quite honestly. So if you turn to Luke chapter 2, we're going to take a look at just one small piece of the Christmas story. If you want to read it for yourself, Matthew chapter 1 and 2, Luke chapter 1 and 2 is a great place to just read. That's the whole Christmas story. This week, we have that as part of our reading plan. So if you've been reading, you will know we've been covering some of that, but we're going to go back and read it again because every time you're going to find something new. And we also put some prophecies. But if you've never read the Bible, maybe turn your outline over and this week commit saying, hey, maybe I'll read some of these verses and kind of unpack some of that stuff for myself. And you'd be surprised how that just reading one chapter a day, God can speak to your life. It's absolutely awesome. Okay, so Luke chapter 2. Let me set it up for you just a little bit. Kind of the Christmas story in a nutshell is that God had decided that, hey, I'm going to send my one and only son. And when we talk about God, you have to think of him this way, that God is one in essence and three in person. If that sounds confusing, it is. That he's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the Son of God isn't somebody that was just born. The Son of God had always been Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So he was always with God. He spoke and the worlds came into existence. That's who he is. And I'm just giving you some background because some people might be confused by who he is. And so in Bethlehem, what happened was God said, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my son as Messiah to restore a relationship with God, that my son is going to be born, and then he'll die on the cross for the sins of the world. That was God's redemptive plan. Now, the prophets prophesied that in the Old Testament, but they really didn't understand all of what God was going to do, much like we don't understand everything that God's doing. However, so as he brings it, he goes, hey, I'm going to select someone to give birth to my son. And the prophecy says, a virgin shall conceive. Most of us know that, hey, usually it's a man and a woman come together. If you need more information on that, come see us afterwards and we'll explain it to you. But that's how babies are normally born. But what God said is no, there will be none of that. All I'll do is the Holy Spirit will come upon them and my son will be conceived in a supernatural way, okay? And so God will be born in the flesh, but I will select a mother for him. And so out of all the women in the entire world, God selects a lady named Mary. And it's believed that she was probably early 20s, maybe teenage years is how young she was, maybe, pretty young lady that was engaged. And in those days, when they were engaged, it was actually a legally binding contract. Although they hadn't consummated the marriage, they would have been engaged for a long period of time. That's how it was back then, okay? And so she was a great, devout Jewish girl, and God comes to her and sends an angel, Gabriel, to say, you are blessed by God. You have been selected to be the mother of my child, Jesus. Okay, that's what his name is going to be. But he is the same God that spoke and the world came into existence, and it's going to be your privilege. And I have a feeling at that point, think about how that would feel if you were here today. That God, out of all the people of all of time, out of all the mothers, that he would select you, later to be known as the Blessed Virgin Mary. I mean, that's who you are. That sounds pretty awesome until you read the next part of the story, which is, and he only told you. Okay, not cool, right? I mean, think about it. You're a teenager. Now, if you've been a teenager, if you got some in the room, imagine you have to go and explain to your parents, I'm pregnant, but it's God, right? I mean, you're like, okay, I don't know what you're saying, but come on, nobody's believing you. Maybe she didn't know how to say it. We don't know. We really don't know what she said other than it was really uncomfortable. Not only that, but it's uncomfortable for the man that she's engaged to. They've been waiting. They didn't have sex before marriage. They were waiting. He was saving himself for her, and she was supposed to be saving herself for him. And now she has to go and say, I'm pregnant, and I don't know how to explain this to you. And he didn't, he was like, I don't know what to say to that, so I love you. I'm not going to have you stoned like I could have you put to death because they're under religious law. Instead, what I'll do is I will secretly divorce you, which means breaking our engagement because they're not really married yet, but it breaks the contract. And that's what he was going to do, just as little shame as I can because I really do love you, but I don't understand this, and we're just going to have to go our separate ways. And then God sends a vision, an angel in a vision to Joseph and tells him, hey, don't put your wife away because it is God. But guess what? They're the only two people that he told, right? I mean, you got to say God has a sense of humor. Maybe, I don't know. I see it as being funny because you're like a young couple just getting started off. Everybody's wondering what happened there. We kind of heard, did Mary have an affair? Did Joseph get her pregnant? And they're kind of hiding it, and the family's kind of ostracizing them. There's a little bit of inference that that's probably how it was going for them. And then right as this young couple, he goes ahead and it's kind of the shotgun wedding, right? And she didn't do anything wrong, but everybody else thinks they did. Now they're this young couple. She's, a teenager. He's a young adult, I guess at best, kind of like a millennial. And you're starting a family and nobody gives you a book what to expecting when you're expecting Messiah. They don't do that, right? And you're having God. So now there's extra pressure to say, I've entrusted you to my one and only son. I mean, talk about pressure, right? Anybody had a baby and you're going, I don't know what to do with this thing. And you're going, but this one is God. And if I mess up here, this could be bad, right? I mean, And so here you are. And then on top of everything else, Caesar Augustus decides that, the Roman emperor decides it would be a great time to tax the entire world just at the right time, right? And so now, on top of being pregnant and getting ready to deliver, you have to travel a long ways to go pay taxes and take this census in your hometown, right? And I don't know how Joseph was. I know when I first got married, it reminds me a lot of me and Marie when we first got married. And, taking trips and going, oh, you know what? When we get there, we'll make reservations when we get there. I've done this a lot. And then you get there and realize, I didn't realize this was spring break week at Myrtle Beach. There is nowhere to stay, Your wife's not cool with that, especially when they're pregnant, okay? And so they get there, and think of the conversation. You get there, and they're going from Nazareth. Maybe they've never been to Bethlehem. I don't know. Bethlehem was the city where they came from, the house and line of David. So it's kind of like, hey, all of our family will kind of be there. There'll probably be a place to stay. But right now, everybody doesn't really like us because, we did this thing, and now everybody thinks we're not really good religious people. And so they're kind of looking down on us. And so they're traveling. Think about traveling while you're pregnant. And then you get there and you're traveling and you think you're going to, Virginia Beach, and you end up in this small town of Bethlehem, right? And there ain't nothing in Zuni, right? You get to Zuni and you're like, the only place to stay in Zuni is Big Bear Campground, right? Or Whitetail Park. And you go, we're just not, right? Anybody know Whitetail Park really is in Zuni? And, if you take your clothes off, they'll welcome you, but you're like, dude, I ain't doing that, And so she gets there, and she's like, I'm pregnant, dude. You know what I mean? And the best they could come up with, let me tell you how the story goes. It goes like this. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, a son, God's son, and she wrapped him in clothes. All this is normal, but then this part is not normal. Placed him in a manger. Now, as a religious person, I got to tell you, this sounds so nice. Manger is such a nice word. We sing a song, away in a manger. I won't sing it. But you get away in a manger, no crib for a bit. And it just sounds so awesome. Let me tell you what that is. That is a feeding trough, okay? Now, I don't know if you've ever seen one, if you've been on a farm, if you've been to the zoo. I've been lately. That's not pretty. And the best I could come up with was we have a Great Dane, so our dog dish is big enough to fit a baby in, okay? And I have a feeling if I said that we took our firstborn son, which we probably did, sorry, what? And we lied him in my dog dish. Now, if I say that, I got a feeling the people that are struggling with this are the religious people in the room, because you're going, sacrilege. Can I tell you something? I've seen a feeding trough for a cow. It's worse. So can I tell you how bad it is? And I just want you just for a second to think of it from Joseph's perspective and what Mary might be thinking. I just had a baby. I'm a teenager. And we take the precious Lord Jesus Christ and lie him in a feeding trough. Joseph, you know what I'm saying? You are going to be remembered for all of time as the guy that didn't make reservations. You jerk. You know what I mean? And I so relate to him on so many levels. But anyway, that's a whole side note. That's not what the message is about today. But I want you to see it from their perspective, because they get there to Zuni realizing there's no place for us to stay, and they end up in a barn. Nobody said somebody directed them to a barn. That's not what it said. What they did was they went, there's nowhere else. You're having the baby. Let's go in there. And they go in this barn, and they have the baby, and they lay him down in the manger. And I don't know if they fought or not, but I have a feeling there was probably a little bit of tension there, right? But here's the part I want you to see today. Why did they have the baby in a barn? Because there was no guest room available for them. Can you circle that? No guest room. No availability. So as they come through Bethlehem, Zuni, okay, about the same, by the way. If you've been to Bethlehem, of what I hear, it's a small podunk place. I mean, it's the city of David, but you see, he later made his temple somewhere else. Even David didn't want to go back to his hometown of shepherds. They were full of sheep and all that kind of stuff. That's what Bethlehem was. I'm not joking. It was a podunk place. And so you're going, why do we have to go here? Because that's where we're all originally from, and we all have to go there. It's kind of like going to West Virginia. No, I'm just playing. It's what you left behind. Okay, I love West Virginia. But you get the picture, right? You're going, hey, why do we come here? Because this is where we got to go, and they're all coming. And you got this young couple that don't know what they're doing, and you got everybody in the town going, we just don't have time for this. And I have a feeling that the people in the town were not saying it because they were mad at them. Probably some of them were, but most of them probably had no idea what was going on with this young couple. But they went, you didn't take the time to do it. And I think a lot of them, it was more like this. I just can't get involved right now, right? I don't know about you, but it's busy right now, right? Christmas time is busy, and I don't know that it came this time of the year, but I like to think it did. So if it did come at Christmas time, guess what else falls during that time? Because you go, well, they weren't celebrating Christmas because Jesus hadn't been born yet. they were celebrating Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, and that's worse, right? Because they have 8 crazy nights of gifts, and I don't understand any of it, right? I mean, I tried to understand it. I'm like, I don't know what they do, but they have 8 whole nights of gifts as they celebrate the Festival of Lights. And you're going, and we have taxes. You know what I mean? I'm supposed to get 8 gifts for every family member, and we're now being taxed and have to go. I don't know about you, but that's kind of how I feel right now. Right now, the government has taxed us. Anybody? And it's called health care. And I'm going, I have no idea how to pay. I just met with my insurance broker, and I'm going, how do you pay for this? I mean, how could it be this bad? I mean, they always said, we don't have coverage for you. So I like to rant about these things. And then you get it, and you're like, I got a what? Like a $10,000 deductible or something? I mean, what is going on, right? And then all of a sudden you got people asking, hey, can you help me? Hey, could you help this? And you're like, not right now, right? I mean, if I can just get through this season, this holiday season where you're supposed to buy gifts because that's what everybody does and family gets together and now we got to have expensive meals. And you get the picture, right? Stress and busy. And because they're stressed and busy, hey, we sheared our sheep and guess what? It ain't going to work out this year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like all that money's going to Caesar Augustus. All that money's leaving us and going out. And so as Mary and Joseph come, they don't have time. I want you to picture that, right? They don't have room for Jesus. Now, nothing said it was the innkeeper. Okay, I just put that on there. That's an inference. It's not like there was a hotel. I bet you there's not a hotel in Bethlehem. Okay, I'm sorry. I just don't think there was. So when we say innkeeper, that's a joke, right? We're talking about homes. Hey, you see this couple going by. Maybe they didn't ask, but you're going, she looks like she's about to have a baby. And have you ever drove up to that car on the road and you just thought, I see they got a flat tire, but I just can't stop right now. You know what I mean? And it's just like, hopefully somebody else stops. I think somebody else will, right? I can't get involved. It's dangerous to get involved. That's my excuse, right? Right? Or like recently it's been for me, and this one is the one that got me, is, you're so busy and you got so many things going on, and then you go to Walmart. First off, I don't want to go to Walmart, right? And then you got to go to Walmart, and then you get there, and there's this bell, this incessant bell just ringing right in front of the door, and you're just like, ding, 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 and you're like, what is that? Salvation Army, oh, man, they're going to ask me for money. I don't have any money, right? I had to pay for health insurance. And so you're getting there, and you're like, and you're just like, you just do one of these, you know what I'm talking about? And you get as far to the other door, and like, I'm supposed to go in the entrance door, I'm going to the exit door. And the guy's like, hey, and you're like, oh, man, Merry Christmas. That's all he says. And you're like, yeah, I know. Okay, Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? Because you're thinking they want money. And you're just like, it's not that I don't want to help. It's not that I'm like Herod and I'm mean. It's just that I'm too busy. I'm just too stressed. Maybe some of these people had problems, I mean, some of these people had loss. You just don't understand. The Romans are bad. They killed some of our relatives. They did these things. I just am not the right one to get involved. And I want you to see it because it's so clear in the Christmas story that God basically said, hey, he was born in a barn, maybe you've never read it this way, because nobody had room for Jesus. Nobody had availability for Jesus. They were too busy. They were too stressed. They had too much going on. And if you talk to any of them, you'd say, I understand. It's just too busy for it, right? And they missed the greatest moment in the history of mankind. And if you don't believe that, you go back and you read that verse again, and it will show you that it says the reason that Jesus was born in a manger, was lied in a manger, is because somebody didn't take time for Jesus. Does that hit you like it does me? And what I'm saying is I want you to be really careful, because if you want the worst Christmas ever, be too busy, be too stressed, and you will miss it. Not only Christmas, you will miss your life. And so what I want to do with the time we have left is this. I simply want to tell you, how do you overcome the busyness and the stress this Christmas? Not only for Christmas, but for your life. But I think starting right now, because here's what I think you're going to say. You're going to say the same thing I would. I'd like to apply this after Christmas. You know what? I'm going to do this after the first of the year. But you're going to miss the greatest opportunity of your life. Don't do it. Start now. Okay, so I have a little quote that I want to give you. You can write this in the margin. It's not going to be on the screen. But this comes from a great theologian, okay? He played for a great Christian band several years ago. He's dead now, I believe. And the great Christian band was called the Beatles. And, sorry. And the man's name was John Lennon. Okay, and he said several profound things. He probably said a lot of things that weren't so profound. But the one thing that he said that always stuck with me, and he's not, by the way, that was a joke. He's not a Christian, I don't think, or whatever. But his quote was this. He says, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Right, think about that for a second. Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. When you're you're so busy making a living that you're missing your life. You're so busy doing whatever this is, and he's going, hey, that might seem urgent, but it's not important. You are missing the important things because life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Too busy, too stressed, too much. And I got to tell you, for some of us, it's going to be hard, but it's something that has to be said. Some of us, we're grieving a loss, right? Maybe this is the first Christmas without a loved one. Maybe this is the first Christmas without a broken relationship. Maybe this is a Christmas where you go, hey, it is a loss, but this isn't the first Christmas without him. It's just it never goes away, and I'm stuck in grief, and I don't know what to do with that, and nobody understands. I get you. This applies, believe me. But see, what I want to tell you today is this. Life is what's going to happen to you while you're busy making other plans. I don't have time for that. I can't get to that. I'm too grieved. I'm too stressed. I'm too financially strapped. I'm too stressed out. If that's you, then you might want to pay attention because you could miss this. And I want to give you the key to not missing it today. It's going to seem very simple, but if you do it, I guarantee you God will show up in an amazing way in your life as he is in mine. If you don't, I got a feeling you're going to go through it, and it's going to be very easy to go, you know what, I did all the religious things. Can I tell you something? I think there was a lot of religious people in Bethlehem. But forever, God wrote in his eternal Bible that you missed it. You want to be that person? Don't miss Jesus, right? In Zunai. Okay, you get it, right? Same thing. How to overcome these things. So I want to just give you just a simple plan to go, here's how this Christmas you won't miss it. And all I need is 30 seconds of your life. Is that worth it? 30 seconds that could change everything. 30 seconds. If you would do this for 30 seconds. I want to tell you that because when I lay it out, it's going to seem like, hey, you're dissecting it, and it takes a little longer than 30 seconds. You go, man, I wish you preached for 30 seconds. Okay, but we can do miracles, not those kind. Okay, we got it. All right, 30 seconds. That's all you need. All right, so here's what it is. It's a Psalms that we looked at before, and I just want you to think about it for a second. It's Psalms chapter 46, verse 10. We preached a couple months ago on this very subject, and I unpacked it in its entirety. It was one message, not a series, that was just called Pause. So if you want to hear more about this, go back, and we said a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm not going to do that to you today. I just want to highlight a piece of it because I think it could change everything this Christmas. And in this book of Psalms, here is the key to the kingdom, if you will. He says this, be still and know that I am God. Now, for a person that's stressed, and a person that's frantic, and a person that already has too much to do, God is saying, be still. Anybody got kids? Be still. Good night. I don't think that's going to happen, right? I'm ADD, dude, so I'm going, be still? You just don't know. All the sugar that I just had, you got to be kidding, right? I mean, how do I be still? This is important. How could you ask people, and if you're grieving or you're stressed, or some of you guys, you go, hey, you didn't hit on mine, but I've had the greatest crisis in the world, and I can't even tell anybody, and I don't know what to do with this. Be still. Now, if you don't know the context of Psalms 46, I believe it's Hezekiah. Is that right, Charles? Is it Hezekiah for Psalms 46? I think it is. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But if you read the passage right before Psalms 46, what you're going to find is Israel is at the most strapped that they've ever been. They have the enemies of God are at the gates and are going to destroy them. And so what occurs is this, is that as the enemies of the gates come, God says right in the middle of it, they go, what are we going to do? And you know what he says? Be still and know that I am God. What we need to plan. No, be still and know that I am God. That's the context. You can go back and read that for yourself. So if you're stressed, you know what God's telling you to do? If you got kids just screaming and you're going, I don't know what to do. I got program after program. I got family coming that I can't stand. Okay, sorry. I love my family, by the way. I do. I'm just messing around. But for some of us, as I talk to people, I realize there are tensions in some families that it's hard, right? Be still and know that I am God. So how do you practically do that? Here's how. I'm going to give you just 3 things to do that, okay? The first thing is this: be still. Be still. In a world that won't stop moving, you have to be still. Okay, how do you do that? Right? I mean, you're probably thinking, hey, I got kids, you're not very practical. You know, maybe your kid's 19, mine's not, so how do I do that? And what I'm going to recommend is the same thing that I've done, and we mentioned it before, is go to Party City, okay? I like Party City, so you can go anywhere you want, and get you one of these. They're just little rubber band things that you put on your wrist. You like that, Alan? Alan, you're not ready for it, but that's okay. Get one that doesn't snap. And what I want you to do is when you say be still, all you need to do is just throughout the day you see this. And on mine it actually says rule the galaxy, and it's got a picture of Darth Vader. That's a whole different thing because I'm going to see Star Wars tonight, and it's just a reminder to go, man, life is okay because you're going to see Star Wars later. It's going to be okay. No, I'm just playing. That's not the message, okay? The other purpose of this is you don't have to have it say anything. It don't even have to be this. It can be anything. Just a reminder that says, be still. And when you feel yourself going up, just grab it just for a minute and just go right where you're at, 30 seconds. Be still. How do you do it? Go to the bathroom. I don't know. Just do something where you go, even if there's people in the room, it doesn't matter. Just be still. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to be still, and then you're going to breathe, kind of like you just saw the Grinch do. No, I'm just playing. Scream. Oh, no. Breathe. And here's what I'd say. 5 seconds in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then pray. And here's the prayer. This is why I say 30 seconds. That's 10 seconds right there. Okay? The prayer is this. What I want you to do this week is I want you to go to a tattoo artist. And then right here, I don't have it yet, but I don't know that I will. I don't know how you feel about tattoos. I just thought I'd offend everyone today. And so I've seen a lot of sleeve tattoos right now. But if I were to get one, if I were to say you to get one, here's the tattoo I would say to get. One word, one phrase. So that when you pray, when you grab this thing, you're looking right here. Maybe just write it in magic markers. See if you get used to it. And then say, I want it tattooed right there. You gave me a week off. That's what you get. All right. So what is it? What do you do? 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and then just pray this. Open the eyes of my heart. That's it. Open the eyes of my heart. I'm going to miss it. You see why? Because life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. And you stop and you go, open the eyes of my heart because I don't want to miss Jesus in the moment. Or else, here's what's going to happen to you. Can I tell you what's going to happen to you? Very clear. Just read the Christmas story. You are going to be remembered for all of time as the people who missed Jesus. But we're not greedy. We're not mean. We're not prideful. We're not any of those things. We're just too busy. We didn't hate Jesus. We just did one of these. Not us right now. And you're going to miss God's greatest opportunity because here's what I know. Wherever you're at, God puts you there for a reason. Wherever you're at, there's a Jesus in the middle of where you're at. There's a Jesus in the middle of Zunai. I know you can't believe it, but it's true. I'm telling you. You don't believe me. You think I'm going too far with this, and you're going, where is the text for that? And I want to share with you just for a minute, just so you get Jesus' perspective. This is not John's perspective. This is not John's gospel message. I'm going to tell you how Jesus will determine at the end of the time who is righteous and who is not. And it's found in Matthew 25. You might not like it, but you can read it, and you read the whole context. Because if you want to know what it's like at the end of time, Jesus in Psalms 25 sat down, and he said very briefly and the most amazing communication I've ever seen in my life about what it's going to be like at the end of time. And in Matthew 25, Jesus says, when I come back after I die on the cross for the sins of the world and I rise from the dead and I wait to the appointed time to come, when I return, I will sit on a throne, which means I will have all power, and all the angels will come with me, and they'll sit around my throne in heavenly glory. And then I'll have them divide the righteous on the right and the unrighteous on the left. And here's the question that I will ask them. It might not be the question you think. The question I will ask them is this. Then the king will say to those on the right, come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. And here's the question I'm going to ask. Here's the deciding factor for these people. For when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in. Verse 36. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. And I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Let's just stop there just for a minute. I got to tell you, I was raised in a Baptist home, and the gospel message to me was, they're going to ask you a question at the gate that says, what makes you, be able to come to heaven? It's because of God's grace. Can I tell you something? That's 100% true. And I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying here today, that you work for the right to get into the kingdom of God. Jesus Christ came and died for the sins of the world to restore you to God. In Ephesians 2:8-9, it says, for by grace you've been saved through faith, that not of yourselves. It's a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Meaning you cannot earn your salvation. Doing these things don't get you into heaven. So don't misunderstand what Jesus is saying, because he's very clear. That it's by God's grace alone that we receive Jesus, and after all of our sins and our separation from God, God restores it through the person of Jesus Christ. Then how can he ask this question? Because if you truly know him, then you will see him. This is big. That's why I say, these are not words that I've made up on my own. You need to take time and pause and what? Be still and breathe. Can I tell you what the name of God sounds like? Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you thought I'd choose these words myself. The name of God in English is called Yahweh. That's pretty simple. But that's not what it sounds like in the Greek. That's not what it sounds like in the Hebrew. The Hebrew, it sounds like a breath. Now, I don't know if you were losing the irony on that. The name of God sounds like a breath because when God created mankind, he breathed into him and made him a living soul. And some of us, because of the stress and because of the busyness of life, I got to tell you, watch your breathing. It will tell you a lot. Right? Doing that, I'm telling you, Google it. It'll tell you psychologically what's wrong with you. It did me. I wasn't very pleased. What do? Be still and know that I am God, right? Be still. Take a breath. Let God breathe into you. And then you say, open the eyes of my heart. Because, see, the people in Bethlehem, they missed the Christ because they didn't see him. They were focused on too much stuff. They missed Jesus right in the middle. They missed the greatest moment in history of mankind. Let me tell you something. You're missing the greatest moment with too much stress and too much stuff. That's why you got to pause or you're going to miss it. How do you get yourself right? This is it. 30 seconds, I'm telling you. Be still and know that I am God. Because at the end, he's going to say, when did I, here's what they say. Here's what the righteous are going to say, verse 37. Then the righteous will answer him and say, Lord, when did we see you? See, these aren't my words. When did we see you hungry and feed you? When did we see you thirsty and give you something to drink? Verse 38. When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? Verse 39. When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? Can I say about the prison part? That helping Mary and Joseph for some people might have been, they were a little bit judgmental. We don't help those kind of people. Right? They were pregnant outside of wedlock. They didn't plan. We're doing, yeah. When did we see you? Here's what he says, verse 40. Then the king, that's Jesus, okay? I just want to make sure you know that. I mean, if you read the context of Matthew 25, he says, when I come back and I sit on my throne in heavenly glory, he is the king of the world. He says, when the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Can I flip that and say that he goes through this whole litany again? I won't say all those things again. But he says to the unrighteous on the other side of the line, they say, he says, depart from me, I don't know you. That's why I tell you, do not underestimate these words. These are the words of Jesus saying, this is what the apocalypse will be like. This is what it will be like at the end of time. These are the questions I will ask. And it will be written in his word, he was born in a barn because you didn't see Jesus. We're going to miss him in Zuni because we didn't see Jesus. When did we see Jesus? That's what the unrighteous say. What do you mean, depart from me? We're religious. We went to all the services. We celebrated Hanukkah. We did all the stuff. But you don't know me. Because when you didn't feed me, when you didn't come to visit me, when you didn't see me, You get it? Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see Jesus, because here's what happens, and God understands that the greatest thing is not being like Herod and being this greedy, narcissistic person. Maybe there's somebody like that here. I don't know, okay? But the worst part in the whole world isn't people that are just so evil. It's people that are so busy that life is what happens to them when they're busy making other plans, and they miss the Christ. They miss Jesus. And he says, when did you see me? And by the way, he says, whatever you didn't do for me, you didn't do for me. Whenever you didn't do for them, you didn't do for me. But I was busy. Oh, I know. You're busy doing the wrong things. That's why he says, open the eyes of my heart. So you don't see life. That's why you have to take a pause. Because I got to tell you, my perspective, when I wake up in the morning, I am miserable and discontent, and I just want to sleep some more. Okay? I don't wake up happy and joyous and free. I wake up miserable and discontent and just, whatever. And you got to reboot, right? You just got to go, hey, I just got to pause just for a second. God, open the eyes of my heart, right? Breathe. Let him breathe into you. 30 seconds that are going to change your life. I know, before the kids say anything, you can hear the baby whining. Before I pick you up, right? I know that these people are coming. I know they're just getting ready to say, I'm going into work, and I already know what's going to happen. I'm getting ready to lose my job. I can't pay this bill. I can't do whatever this is. You feel me? Health insurance is insane, okay? It would just be easier to die, okay? Just give me the blue pill and be done, okay? If I had to read one more paperwork, I'd rather just take the blue pill. Okay, you get the picture, right? Be still and know that I am God. Be still, breathe, pray, open the eyes of my heart. And if you do it, I can guarantee you one thing. If you pray to God and you take a moment to pause, I can guarantee you God will show up. I have never known a time that I prayed like this, that God didn't open my eyes. Now, he doesn't do it right in the moment. He don't think, I'm going to pray, open the eyes of my heart, and then God's just going to, and skywriting say, okay, what I want you to do is this. That's not how he works. You know what he does? All of a sudden, you walk out, and it's as though you got new lenses on. This morning, I was out jogging, because I have to do that to get my blood flowing so I can come to church and be happy, joyous, and free. Otherwise, you would see a whole different John, right? So I go out, and I get my blood flowing, and I put the contacts in the wrong eyes this morning. Oh, my gosh. I felt like I was going to die. I was like running down the street going, what is going on, right? I was just like, I can't see the world right? So I have to get home, and I put them in the other eyes, and now I'm like, oh, that's so much better. In fact, I just threw those out and got new ones and just stuck them in because I was like, man, if I get to church and I'm like this, you have no idea how I'm going to feel today. It's going to look like, man, he's stoned. What happened on vacation? What am I saying? I'm saying you have to see the world right. And he's going to show it to you. So now all of a sudden when you walk down the street, you're going to go, oh, that's more important. Oh, man, not everything. You see, the problem is you think it's everything has to be done. And he's going, no, I didn't call you to do everything. I just called you to do one thing, right? That couple walking down the street is getting ready to have a baby. That's more important than anything else you're going to do today. You see, John, I remember I was drinking coffee with a friend this past week at Hardee's. And I was sitting there and ranting about the health insurance thing. And right in the middle of it, we just paused, and I just laughed. And I was like, I've never been without a meal in my entire life. Unless I chose to not eat. I've never not had health care. The health care that we've had in this day and age has been better than any time in the history of mankind. What are you complaining about? I got all first world problems. And I'm missing people that don't. You get it? Because I'm so consumed with self, right? I'm just too busy. And it's like all the great things about life are stressing me out. You know what you got to do? You got to pause. Just can't do them all. Yeah, I might not get to that, but I'm going to get to that, right? Whatever, but I don't know what it is I'm getting to. That's why he's got to open the eyes of your heart. What is the most important moment? You don't know. Have you ever had that single cup of coffee conversation where the person said, I'm so glad you talked to me today because I was thinking about ending it today. I'm so glad I didn't open up my mouth first. I'm glad I listened this time. How many times didn't I? But when you open the eyes of your heart, it's amazing how that God will point out the people that really need you. Your kids will talk to you. You know what I'm saying? And somebody will come beside you, or maybe you need to share something with somebody else. But all of a sudden, life seems to make sense. And all those other things just don't matter so much because we be still and know that he is God, and we get to be part of one of the greatest moments ever. And I believe what the people in Bethlehem taught us, what they taught us is this. They taught us, be still. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't be so busy doing cool, good things that you miss out on the most important thing that God has for you. So I'm going to ask you, 30 seconds. What are you going to do? 30 seconds. Breathe in, breathe out. Open the eyes of my heart. If we all prayed that way, imagine what would happen. I want to give you one other practical thing to do, and then I'm done. And that's this. I want you to pull this card out. And I want to really explain it because I've had a big epiphany about church. And a pendulum swings all the time. You know, are we attractional? Are we promotional? Are we relational? Are we whatever? Which model do we want to follow? Now you're getting old and you're not cool anymore, so who cares? You know, it just, you know, it's like falling off the fashion wagon. You just say, at some point you just go, I just don't care. You know? But there is something that God has been just pressing down on. And I want to make sure you understand because I have a feeling we could miss it. I want you to invite someone this year. And I want to explain why. I can't say this has always been our motive, but this is the motive this time. I need to tell you what our church doesn't need right now. We don't need a growth campaign right this second. We're going to get there. We're ready. We have a plan for that. And you might be going, oh, you're down to one service. But we haven't been doing a lot of promoting. And the reason is because we're building up our teams and we're building up our things and we got a building plan. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. And it's really cool. And I can't wait to tell you about it after the first of the year. So don't invite anybody right now because we just can't really handle them, okay? But except for one thing. Somebody needs this. So let me just be quite honest. The systems aren't in place yet. We're not inviting them here to build a program or build a church. We're inviting them here for them. Because there's somebody that needs Jesus. And our problem is going to be this. You're busy with family. And on Christmas Eve, you're going to be busy with everything else. And I need to tell you something about Christmas. Because I've only experienced this a few times in my life. But there are times that Christmas is the darkest time. See, some of us, we've grown up in just this great place. But some of us haven't, right? I mean, some of us have experienced some things in life where you are all alone on Christmas. And I got to tell you, that is the worst. And you could be in a crowd and you could be all alone. And you could be with somebody and nobody knows that thing, like what I was telling you before, stress and thing and obstacles and this, and you're pushing everybody away. You get the picture? When did I see you? You see, that's the reason why I want you to pray. God, open the eyes of my heart because somebody's going to be spending Christmas alone this year, and I didn't know that. And they're going to blow their brains out this Christmas. I'm telling you. I don't mean to be graphic. I'm being honest. I can't tell you the amount of people that during the holidays, as a pastor, I get to know, right? They end it. That's when they end it because this is it. And imagine if there was a God that could say, I'll open the eyes of your heart so you won't miss that person. In fact, maybe if you prayed right now, that he would put a name on your list and you write it on there and you call them and they can't believe that you called them. And let me just be clear because I think I'm clear about what our church is and what it's not. We may never be huge and I really could care less. In fact, that's one of the things I hate about church. We may be huge and that's awesome and great, good for us. And we plan for all that. That's not what I'm talking about this time though. But what I do hope that we never miss is this. The person in the midst that we go, we're so busy, life is what's happening, and we got a program, and we got stuff, and we got all this, that we miss that one person that needs it. And I just want to give you one personal example, and then I'm out. I think it's been way over 10 years ago, so I won't even go there. But I had a couple. We were at Western Branch Community Church, and we did a big campaign for inviting people to the Christmas Eve service. And I remember I went to this person that I know, and we gave him a card. And we just said, hey, we'd like you to come. And the person didn't come. In fact, the person decided to go back on drugs, and I didn't see him for a very long time until I found him in a homeless shelter, and then we tried to help this person. Very interesting how God brings people together. But I'll never forget that he said, you know, there was a lot of times that he never showed up for the service either, by the way. Okay, I just want to be clear. It was like maybe 4 or 5 years later that I saw him again. And he was at the lowest that you could be. But he said, you know, when I thought about ending everything, And I looked up on that stand and I thought, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares. And by the way, nobody should. I mean, if you knew what this guy did, I don't want to go there. But he gave me permission to share it. But here's the thing. The things he did were so despicable, that's why no one cared about him, okay? But he said, when I thought about ending it, I looked up on the counter and there was an invite, and that was all that I saw, and that's why I didn't kill myself. Don't tell me it don't make a difference. You get the heart. This is not about a crowd. It might be no one that we invite comes. It might not be that case. But what I don't want you to do is, I'm so busy with family right now. I'm so busy doing something else right now. I'm so busy with whatever right now, you're going to miss Jesus in the middle of it. And if you don't believe that, go back and read Matthew 25. When I saw you, when did we see you? You get it? Open the eyes of my heart. And I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you, what's going to happen on Christmas Eve is somebody's going to tell a story about, I can't believe they came. And somebody's going to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. And you have the opportunity to invite them. But some of us won't, because here's what's going to happen. Right in the middle of Zuni, we're just too busy. We're not mean. We're just too busy. We just don't want to. You see, we're not trying to stop it. We just don't want to get involved. God wants you to get involved. But the only way you're going to know what that is, I can't tell you. But you got to be still. You got to breathe. And you got to pray, God, open the eyes of my heart. And if you do, I guarantee you he will. But you know what? It's amazing how that what you need most and what they need most, God is linked together. I don't know how he does it. But when all of a sudden that person is there, all your problems seem to go away. I'm sick. Yeah, I know. But I'm grieving. I know, I'm treading on some dangerous ground right now. I'm grieving. I know. You want to know what the key is? You don't want to be alone, but neither do they. I can't help anybody because I'm grieving. Yeah, I know. But the keys to your freedom are found right here. I'm telling you. And you'd be amazed at what God can do, because if you only knew that in that manger lies the Son of God. Right? The key to the kingdom is found. Be still and know that I am God. Find out for yourself. I'm telling you. It'll change your world. So here's what I like to do as we close. I'd just like you to close your eyes just for 1 minute. Be still. Then I'd like you to breathe. I'm going to count to 5 and breathe in. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. How long can you hold it? No, I'm just playing. I won't do that. And then breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'd like us to stand for prayer. Father, the prayer is simple today. Open the eyes of our heart. I'll pray for the one that doesn't know you today, God, because we don't need to go looking for the mission. It's already here. I can see it on some people's faces, God. That's them. There's somebody who needs you today, God. And we don't need to be trying to reach more people when we know right in our own midst there's somebody here that needs you. So I pray today, God, they'll understand that we're trying the best we can to reach out. That's what this church, maybe they didn't know. Maybe they came here and don't even know why. Maybe they've been here a long time and they've been hiding, and the facade is so big that they can't feel it. And I'm just praying right now you break down that wall for them to be able to be still and know that you're God, and that they know that there's some people that care about them, that this church exists for one reason and one reason alone, to connect with them. That's it. To connect with them and to connect them with God. That's it. That's all that that's the only reason why we're here. So I just pray right now, God, maybe they'll have the courage to come up and pray with somebody today. Maybe they'll have the courage to fill out a connection card today. Maybe they'll have the courage to talk to somebody today. Or maybe they'll just pray before they leave and ask you to make a difference in their life. Somebody will talk to them. But God, I pray for us that maybe we'll see that person on the way out today, that we don't just walk past them and hurry up. Because it's December 17th and Christmas is here and we got important things to do. And God, I pray for the ones that we invite. I pray for the name that we need to do, and I pray for everybody, God, just open the eyes of our heart. I pray for the one that's got the wounded heart. They'll realize the key to them getting healed is serving other people. I learned that the hard way. Not anger. I pray for all that, God, that they can just let some of that go. Not guilt. That's not going to get us anywhere. Not greed. We can't feel enough. Lord, not jealousy. Oh, God, we know that's not right. And we know hate ain't going to work. But Jesus, oh, he'll work. right here, zoom out, right here, new branch, we'll see the Christ. Open the eyes of our heart, God. That's our prayer. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.